And we're back.
Are we?
Let me ask you a couple questions,
Okay,
Zach.
go ahead, Guthrie. Ask away. What's the worst you
no,
can
I'm
do?
terrible at that.
So, Guthrie, you've been involved in some online lessons through ArtistWorks, and I actually signed up and did a month of them. I really enjoyed them. It was
thanks.
I really enjoyed a lot of the concepts, and you're a good teacher.
Well, thank you, man.
So how did you get into that?
I can't believe when people say that. I'm like, really? Well, okay, so people started kind of asking if I gave private lessons here in town. And I thought, well, why not? I've taught a little bit here and there. And the more I did that, I think I kind of got a little bit of a rap going and started figuring out how to kind of explain this stuff, which I enjoyed because I've never really sat down and tried to describe what I was doing and how I look at playing the guitar. So it helped me out a lot. And so I did that for a while, and then I got a call from these guys about doing this online lesson school, and we talked about it for a couple of weeks, and I knew that this company had a great reputation because of the people that they have teaching. They've got Brian Sutton, John Patitucci, Nathan East. They've got Mike Marshall, Daryl Anger. They've got Martin Taylor. They've got a bunch of great.
Paul Gilbert.
Paul Gilbert, of course. I'm leaving out Paul Gilbert. Paul Gilbert is one of their top teachers. So they've got this amazing, and the list goes on from there. They've got bluegrass, rock, classical, all this different stuff. So it's a great company, and they wanted me to do the country electric guitar. So I thought, sure, and so these guys know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they want out of you. They're very specific. They're very detail oriented. They've got a beautiful studio in Napa, California, state of the art. Great staff, and it's a full blown, very professionally run company. So they started, telling me how this whole thing was going to go down. You go out there for 6 days. You film all these lessons. Like we filmed about 300 lessons out there, and very much like this kind of situation where I'm sitting in front of a bunch of cameras and mic'd up and doing the whole thing and teaching these lessons. So they wanted me to put this curriculum together, and so I sat here in Nashville a couple years ago, and it took, maybe 3 or 4 weeks for me to put this thing together, because I would send them drafts. They would send me back. So they wanted to make sure that this whole thing went from beginner, intermediate, and advanced with no holes or no gaps in there. So I had to really think about, like, to take your whole life's work of playing, and condense that down into, 3 weeks time of developing this curriculum. I had to really sit there and go, okay, what comes first, holding your pick or tuning the guitar? Or, they didn't want it. There was no gaps in this entire thing. So, I had to really jump out of my comfort zone to sit down and focus on that, So it was really good for me to be able to do that, because I am such an unschooled kind of seat of the pants player, and that's how my whole life is, really. But so it was great. And then we did it. We put the thing up, and now it's like, I think I'm one of the top 5 teachers that they have, and doing it for a couple of years. So, in the next couple of years, I'll probably have around maybe 12 to 1,500 students. I've got about 600 right now all over the world, and these guys, they subscribe to these lessons online. And the thing about ArtistWorks that's really cool, that sets them apart, is they do the video exchange, which like a guy in Korea or Australia or whatever will send me a video if he gets to a certain part of the curriculum online and he has a question or anything about, any part of the online curriculum. He can send me a video of his progress or any questions. I get that in my queue on my computer, and I go up, and I've got camera equipment and stuff at my house, and I go in and sit down much like this, and give them a video response. It could be anywhere from maybe 10, 12 minutes, of responding and getting more in depth into the learning process. So it's a great. With all that being said, it's a really great platform for learning.
It is,
and as well, yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. The way it was kind of set apart with the beginning, the intermediate, and the advanced.
Right.
Again, done exceptionally well, and I would recommend it to anyone that was wanting to learn about, and just even a lot of the concepts, work for, anyone, advancing on the guitar. But of course, it is, slanted towards someone that's wanting to do electric country. But it's great lessons.
Absolutely, and it is. It's great. I've got students that can that are very, very, very beginners. And then I've got guys that, there's this one guy, like I mentioned, in Korea, that name, or that sticks out in my mind, because this guy, he keeps sending me videos, and I'm like, man, there's no more I can show you. It's like he's got everything down, and but that's the cool part of it. There's all levels of players, and it's really cool. Yeah.
Now, right now, you're kind of in the middle of, I guess you're toward the end of your tour with John Oates, and you're going to start your kind of residency at Acme Feed and Seed again.
Yeah, we'll start jumping in back into that. Playing live in Nashville is interesting because it's kind of like, we're this kind of like mothership of all these musicians, and it could be rock bands, country bands, singer-songwriters, guitar players, whatever it is. We're like the mothership beacon for that. And then all these people travel and tour out of here. But so when we're back home, nobody's making their living playing live in Nashville, unless maybe some guys on Broadway or the guys that are playing at the Opry or whatever these unique situations are. But to just go out and play at a club, you're doing it for fun, And so started playing at the Acme a couple years ago, I think 3 years ago now, and we were doing every Wednesday from 6 to 10, and that was like our local band, great band. And but now we've cut back. When we start back up next week, actually, we're doing the second and fourth Wednesdays of every month. So we're just gonna do twice a month, and kind of give everybody a little bit of a break. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing. I know we're going to do every Saturday in April at Dee's Lounge in East Nashville, Tennessee. So it's going to be awesome. Dee's is like very funky, cool bar. It's a full-blown bar, pool tables and the whole 9 yards. But they also have, and you're going to love this. This is like Madison, Tennessee, north of East Nashville. And I'm calling Madison the new East Nashville. Okay. Because East Nashville is now like,
it's been gentrified now.
It's totally like, I thought I was moving into this like off the beaten path neighborhood. And then 3 months later, it's like now we're back to like 12 South. But so Dee's Lounge is cool. Jim Oblon plays there every Tuesday, which I'm not sure if you've had him on here, but
he's a great player.
He's great. And so he's doing every Tuesday. Kenny Vaughn's playing up there and all these different bands. So it's a really cool kind of off the beaten path place. What I was going to tell you is Robin Ford moved to East Nashville.
Yes.
So he's living in East Nashville. So he's like, he would go up and sit in with Jim at Dee's, and I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. Robin Ford is playing at Dee's at this like total, like just kind of dive bar in Madison behind like a XXX toy store. This whole thing is just like, I'm like, Robin Ford is going here to play and sit in. I'm like, we have truly made it. Nashville is like, we're on the map now, baby.
But that's what
it's he and Larry, crazy.
He and Larry Carlton were doing that in L.A. They were playing these dives and stuff.
Okay, so
back in the
he's
70s.
Yeah.
So this is something that.
So there you go. See, I didn't know that. I'm
sure.
Out,
because you get to go out and stretch out. No one's telling you what to do, and there's not the pressure of it being a headlining gig.
And that's why I want to play there. I'll play at any little dive bar because that's how we all grew up.
Yeah.
And hey, look at the baked potato, man. That's not like
it's a dive.
It's a dive. So there you go. There's something we all love about that.
All right, Guthrie.
All right.
We're gonna talk gear now.
Okay.
So you've got the Russ
The most
Pahl.
important part.
Well, we actually want to, kind of get some of your concepts as far as gear instead
Totally.
of just
I'm kidding, by the way, but yeah.
Well, because it's easy to just list off the gear that you have.
Right.
But to really get down to how you use it and how it helps you.
Right.
So first off, you've got this Russ Pahl, Tele. You've got this pedal board, and then you've got our Deluxe Reverb reissue. And right now, you don't have anything on. There's no reverb. There's nothing. Kind of give us your, give us a sound.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll give you the sound. Just a nice open A chord there. And to really get more specific, this guitar, this is a hand-wound Russ Pahl back Tele pickup, which is very traditional. And then this is a Strat pickup in the front position, but pretty stock. I mean, nothing overwound, nothing underwound, no crazy mods, anything like that. I use my tone and volume knob all the way up 99% of the time, always. We're on the front pickup. I'm using a 10 through 46 D'Addario set. My action is not crazy high, not crazy low. I don't like splatty, too low action, but I also don't like so high that it's uncomfortable. I just like a nice playable action. And then right now we're bypassing the pedal board pretty much. Everything's off on the pedal board. We're going right into we're playing through this nice Fender Deluxe Reverb reissue because my old Princeton was making some really weird noises when I showed up today. So we put it out there. It's for sale. Actually, we put it out on the sidewalk, so anybody driving by, they can just. It's sitting next to a TV and a coffee table out there on the sidewalk.
I've got $300 that I'll give you right now for it.
Sold. Okay, so we're going into this, and for these recording purposes, the volume's at a moderate level. We're at about 3 here, and then the reverb's off, just to demonstrate that, and then bass is on about 4, treble's on about 4.5. So that's about probably where I would have it if I was playing a gig, right? Except my volume would be up probably closer to 4.5 or 5. And so now this is dry. So now I'm gonna turn the reverb up. I love reverb, so I'm gonna turn this up to, I would say probably 2.5 or 3, depending on what I'm doing. I'd probably leave it about right there, but that gives you a nice,
Those both pickups.
So I switched to both pickups, yeah. So that's like. So that's the middle, and that's still just the amp and the reverb. No effects really yet. So then if you play a little softer with maybe using a little of the hybrid technique there, you get a nice, that was playing pretty loud, pretty hard rather. So, that's playing pretty soft, right, with a lighter touch.
So this would be kind of like your kind of basic setup. So you've got, and you're kind of a Tele guy to a degree.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what drew you to
less moving parts?
Yes. Yeah. Is that what drew you to the Telecaster, or was it with the sound and the players?
It was that too, but I think since I played a lot of acoustic guitar when I was really young, this is like, to me, the most solid of all the guitars. I mean, it's just like I said, the least amount of moving parts, and it's just pretty basic, you know. I mean, it's hard to mess it up.
So now we've heard this with just the amp with some verb on it. So now let's go through and so like the RC booster that
right.
Of course you have a tuner and then you go into the RC booster. So
right.
is that something that you leave on all the time, or is that, you know, how do you use the RC booster?
You know, I used to leave it on all the time, and then I stopped doing it because you know, with these kind of lower wattage amps that I use, you start hitting it too hard with a bunch of stuff, and it can get kind of nasty sounding, in my opinion. So I usually just crank the amp, like I said, about to 5 on most Fenders. But and so then I'll use this a lot of times if I'm playing. If I want a little bit of a solo boost, even I'll play it. Depending on the song, it's possible that I will leave it on, but that just adds you. So here's like the little.
Yeah, let's hear it without it.
Here's without it. And then here's with.
Just the tiniest hint of dirt, maybe a touch of mid-range, and
yes,
and a little level.
Yeah, still very clean to me, but yeah, it's just like I've got the volume, the treble, and the bass all at noon, and then the gain is like at maybe 9 or 10 o'clock, you know. But it is a nice pedal. It just takes that amp and just makes it a little bit wider sounding, you know, and it accentuates the treble and everything just a little bit, though. It's not too crazy. So I turned the gain up just a little. And that's with it off, and then here's with it on. Kind of makes the amp come to life a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, it just adds a little bit more of the tonal spectrum, if you will.
So
great pedal.
The Nobles. So first off, you know, that's kind of, you know, I think it all goes back to Tom Bukovac. But where did you hear about the Nobles, and what kind of attracted you to it?
Just all those guys, you know. I think probably, you know, I used to live across the hall from Jed Hughes at this big house we had on 12 South, and I've been living there for years and years. And then some people started moving out, and I got all my musician buddies in there. Jed lived across the hall from me for years. We lived over in that house on 12 South, and we were constantly trading gear back and forth. You know, he was recording in his house, and he'd say, here, try this pedal. I'd say, here, try this, and we were back and forth. And I think it was around that time where I was, you know, I don't know what kind of overdrives I was using back then. I think like a Maxon Tube Screamer 808 or something. And it just, you know, it wasn't killing me. And so, of course, when I tried a real vintage Nobles overdrive, I was like, man, this is perfect for my playing style, because I've never been a rock guitar player. I've never used a lot of high gain sounds, really. I do, but nothing really over the top. So this was like the perfect pedal that just took your guitar sound and just kind of, it just boosted it a little bit, gave you a little, just enough overdrive to where you're kind of, you know, to where you could take a solo or play some rhythm. So that pedal sounds like this. I'll get on the back pickup here. Now the RC booster's off. We're back to just amp and reverb. That's just the amp. So you can tell it dirties it up, but you're still getting the tone of the amp. It's almost like you just crank the amp up. It's not changing your tone a lot. And if you want to, cleans up nice, you know, very touch sensitive, you know. country stuff. I mean, it just gives you a nice, you know. Right, so it just gives you a nice tone. It's nothing too crazy. It's just, it's like almost the perfect overdrive pedal, you know?
And you've got a T-Rex tremolo, just for tremolo. And then how do you use, you know, so do you use different, you know, when you're doing the chicken picking thing, like how would you use a delay pedal? So let's, you know, I'm sure you'd have it one way when you're doing like a chicken picking kind of thing, and then another way if you were playing another kind of song. Why don't you show us how the two, you know, kind of the two basic ways that you would set up a delay?
Well, here's the funny thing. I don't ever use it as a slapback.
Okay.
I never use it for that. So I just use it for more like playing ballads.
Yeah.
Or like if I'm playing like a real singing, for lack of a better term, like a David Gilmour style solo, where it's like maybe like a rock ballad or something like that. If I'm playing the blues, I usually don't use a delay because I like to keep it more traditional with just a lot of reverb. And the same with playing country stuff. I don't use a compressor and I don't use slapback.
Wow.
I just use the delay as like either for ambient stuff or with the Strat, which we'll demonstrate in a minute. And I didn't bring a volume pedal, but a lot of times that's great with a volume pedal.
Yeah.
But
that's
I'll
very
show
interesting.
you. Yeah, it is. I know it's people.
No,
you wouldn't
that's
believe.
old school. I mean, that's
old
what
school.
you heard on, you know, when James Burton was playing on Merle Haggard records. There wasn't slapback on there.
I know, and I don't use it much for that. Now, I will say this: if I'm ever using my Memory Man, the old Memory Man, that's when I might dial in a little bit of the slapback because it's just so subtle you almost don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen very often. I don't have those on my boards because they're so big. Actually, I've got one on my bigger session board, but yeah. But for this, the Brigadier Strymon, I think it's a great pedal. And then on my other board, on my medium board, I've got the El Capi stand, which is a little more subtle, that tape delay kind of thing. But so getting back to this, so this is what the tremolo sounds like. Let's hit that first because we didn't do that. But I'm using the T-Rex Tremster. I've had this pedal for a long time. I think it's a good sounding tremolo pedal. So this is what that sounds like. And this is what the Nobles is still on here. So it's just a nice tremolo. So there's that. I mean, everybody knows what tremolo sounds like.
And then this board was built for you recently by Barry at Exact Tone Solutions.
Yeah, they've done all my pedal boards, and I mean, a lot of guys in town use them, but I think they just do really, really great work. You know. And
I'm just going to give a blatant plug. We have our Truetone CS6 is powering this up. So
absolutely.
And that one, I just, you know, Barry indicated that he needed one for you, and so I was just glad that, you know.
Oh, great. Well, thanks for doing that.
Yeah. So I was glad that worked out. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, this pedal board has just gone all across the country, and the thing about this pedal board that I needed was it's really out of necessity of just traveling light. I mean, when you're going from your house to the airport to some sort of vehicle to go to the hotel, and then from the hotel to the gig, you know, no matter what tour you're on and how luxurious it is, because we traveled really well with John Oates and you know, we flew everywhere, had great transportation, great hotels, all that stuff, but you're still having to, you know, carry whatever you bring with you, you're having to carry around. So, you know, other than having some help with your suitcase and stuff, but I didn't want to have a pedal board, my guitar, my suitcase, my backpack. You know, so I came up with this because this is really all I need. I got a tuner, the RC booster, the Nobles, and the tremolo and the delay. So the reason I don't have my signature model J-Rocket audio pedal on here is because I didn't need the extra gain, and I like the way the Nobles is at a lower gain setting. So that's why I brought that. But this board is it fits in my suitcase. I'll throw the pedal board in the suitcase, throw a bunch of clothes in there, and I'm good. And that way I'm not checking another another item, right? So it's a small board, but nice and clean, great, like you said, great power supply, pedals sound great, and
Yeah.
and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And here's a trick. So I'll take my pedal board in the suitcase, and then when I get to the hotel, I take it out of the case, and then I'll put it in my backpack, and then take that to the gig.
Yeah.
So I'm not having to lug my suitcase to the gig just because my pedal board's in there. So, but now I've got this cool Gator Cases actually sent me a really cool little case that fits perfectly for this because it's an odd size. It's a custom size. So I'd either have to get a hard case made for it that would be $300 or $400 probably. But Gator had this great little bag that fits perfectly. So
Very nice.
I'm now a Gator case endorser, I guess you'd say, whatever.
Well, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's. Now you've.
So that's the tremolo. We didn't do the delay yet, but we can do that.
Yeah, hit the delay. Yeah, show us how you would.
Actually, you know what?
That.
Can you hand me that Strat?
Yeah.
And then we'll get back to the Tele. We could do some country stuff if you want, but this I just got this guitar, which I'm digging.
This is a Danocaster made by Dan Strain.
This is made by Dan Strain. Yeah.
He's a friend. We know him. He's a great builder, great guy.
Absolutely.
Makes a good pot of coffee.
Yeah, Dan's the man, and he called me up and said he had some Strats done, and I went over there and played one.
So this is basically 60s type Strat. Looks like alder body, maple neck, rosewood fretboard. Yeah,
absolutely.
Looks great.
And the action is low on this guitar for me. It's a little low, but every time I get a guitar where the action's low and I say I'm going to raise it, I end up leaving it because it's so comfortable to play.
Yeah.
You know, so this is what this guitar sounds like.
And you had the Nobles and the Tremolo and the Brigadier going at that point.
So now it's crazy. All the effects are on.
Yeah.
So now we're using and I was going to say earlier that is something that I like to do. I like to get just a good solid tone out of the amp, and then incorporate the pedals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then so, you know, a lot of guys that I've noticed, especially younger players, they'll have their amp and their volume will be down like around 2.5 or 3, which is great for this purpose. But if you're on a gig, man, you want to crank that thing up a little bit. So they'll have their volume down really low, and then their compressor is just like crazy cranked, and they're getting their volume from their pedals and not the amp. And if you turn all their pedals off, the amp sounds tiny and even like anemic sounding, you know? So I say crank the amp, get a really good like foundation tone, and then incorporate your pedals into that.
Just to add some color.
It should be kind of incremental, in my opinion, you know? That has been the best for me, and I think a lot of other guys would agree with that. But that's what the Strat sounds like, and that's kind of how I'm using the delay pedal. I've got the modulation knob on the Strymon is turned up just a little bit. I don't like it to get too warbly or it just starts sounding out of tune to me. The repeats are up a little bit. The bucket brigade thing is up just a little bit, and honestly, I don't even know what that does. But the mix is, you know, it's just a moderate, you know, like.
The bucket loss is kind of killing off some treble.
Is that what it's doing?
Yeah.
Like a tape age kind of thing or something?
Kind of like that, but it's replicating the fact that when the signal goes through all those buckets, you start losing high end.
Okay. Yeah. Well, in that case, I've got that turned up a little bit, and that's probably helping it, you know, like you said, kind of take a little of that digital delay, the brightness of that down a little bit.
Yeah.
But you can tell the delay is set to where it's not, you know, to me, your repeats should be a little bit, your initial note that you hit should be the loudest, most prominent, and then as the delay kind of drifts off, it should naturally drift off, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want the mix to be, you don't want it to be equally as loud as your initial note that you're hitting, right? So it kind of drifts off, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the best. So that's kind of what that sounds like.
Let's talk about this great 335. Now, you told me earlier that you got this from Victor Krause, Alison Krause's brother, and it's a great-looking guitar. It's a 1969. It's the same, kind of iced tea burst like Larry Carlton's guitar. So, I mean, it's just a awesome-looking guitar.
Yeah, and I like this guitar. I'll tell you why. I think is maybe Larry is the same way, but my hands are kind of small, and I've been playing the Tele for so many years that and the nut is a little narrower on these.
Yes,
and it's just a super comfortable. I mean, some of those 335s can get a little,
they can
the
have
necks
big
are a
necks.
little bit big. So this has just got a really comfortable neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's a very versatile guitar. Like, I mean, I think the 335 is, I mean, I can play, you can almost get away with chicken picking on a 335, although I don't really like to do that. But it's very versatile. I mean, you can go from really nice, clean stuff, and like really nice jazz lines.
And like a lot of good 335s, it's very clear sounding. It's very open sounding. It's not tubby sounding.
Right.
Because you were playing on the neck pickup and it was very clear. It never got woofy.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if these are the original pickups or not. I've heard a couple people say they might not be, and I've never pulled them out to know the difference. But whatever they are, I like the way they sound.
They sound fantastic.
Right, I'm not going to change anything. But yeah, just such a fun guitar to play. I mean, people know I'm not a Gibson guy, but man, once you feel the power of the humbuckers, it's hard to. I mean, for anything blues or R&B or funk or soul or any or rock, any rock and roll, it just it kills it.
Yeah. And with a Tele and a Strat and a 335, you can cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and like I said, I just got that Strat. I've never had a great Strat, never had a great Les Paul, and I still don't. But maybe one day I'll get a Les Paul. But these three are for what I do. Yeah, I'm pretty much covered. And I got a bunch of other stuff at home too, of course. But if I'm gonna go gig, these are gonna be the three I'll probably take.
So if you were gonna go and play a session, what guitars, again, not taking everything that you have, but what would be, what would you think would be the 5 or 6 or maybe even less than that kind of essential pieces that you would take on a session?
Well, if I'm just going to play electric, and I know that I'm just going to play electric.
Yeah, let's keep it to electric.
Let's keep it to electric. I'm going to play, I would take this for sure. I'd take the Tele, I'd take the Strat, and I'd probably take my Gretsch. I've got one of those 30th anniversary Gretsch guitars. And then I would probably take my Jerry Jones baritone. I think that would probably do it. Yeah. I mean, that would be I could probably do everything with that. And there's others. I could take one of the Teiscos if I know I'm going to do something really kind of greasy or funky, because you plug those in and you immediately have it goes there to kind of the dirty. I've got flat wounds on there for some slide stuff and that. But I would say those 5 would be a good staple. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Guthrie, I really appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you coming down. It's a real thrill.
Hey, man, my pleasure.
So much.
Thanks for I'm in good company on this show.
You are. Thank you.
You got it.